I ain't your sacrifice. Chapter name, Return of the King. No. Please, I beg you. I'll do anything, just don't. Silence. Another filly sacrificed. I've stopped counting them a while ago. Instead, I used all of my attention on the prison door. Iron bars were mounted to the walls of the cavern to form a prison cell. This must have been just one of many carved caverns, since they haven't come here to take an upon, yet they've dragged off so many foals down the corridor. The wall was weak near the bolts where iron doors were mounted, but I didn't have the right tools for the job. It would take me days to break through using just my hooves. If only I could find something hard to offer me some torque against the wall. I looked back on the sorry bunch of fellow foals. They were hugging each other in the corner on the far side of the cell. Staying in the dark, they were trying not to get noticed. Not an easy thing to do when you're a pony, sparkling in the dumbest of lights. All 10 of us were foals, but unlike me, the 9 of them were earth ponies. Besides their shiny coats, they had nothing on them. Only I wore a pendant around my neck. In the whole cell, there was nothing I could turn into a tool. I needed to find an alternative plan to escape. If I used the same tactic as them, I would probably be sacrificed last. Due to my black coat, I sparkled the least and could just lean my back against the wall, thus hiding my red tail and mane. After closing my glowing red eyes, I could blend with the shadows almost perfectly. In the end, however, I would still get sacrificed. Hiding in the cell was not the right solution. It would be helpful if I could figure out why I had been brought here. I didn't remember anything from before, and I had only a few clues about the past events. Waking up on the stony floor of the cell was my first memory. I didn't know any of the fellow inmates, nor anything that the guards dragged down the corridor to the slaughter. I wasn't the only one with a damaged mind, though. Nobody else knew one another or remembered anything from before, either. It was like our heads were wiped clean. The guards, however, seemed to be able to recall events from the past. They were talking about the return of the Crystal Empire and bringing back King Sombra. Speaking in anger about the invading forces from Equestria, they said that only by bringing back the rightful king could they hope to establish their rule from 1,000 years ago. They seemed motivated. I could use it against them. Despite not remembering anything from my past, it was clear that I was more courageous than the whimpering foals that were trapped with me in the cell. My flank was blank, just like theirs were, but I didn't let that bring me down. I knew what my purpose was in that situation, even without my QB mark. I was set on finding a way out of the cell, no matter what. Looking at the pendant around my neck, I wondered why I had it and if I could use it in any way. Unfortunately, it wasn't sturdy enough to of any help in breaking out of the cell. The sides were charred and the middle was bent. As I opened it, pictures of a red mare and a black stallion caught my attention. "Is that your mom and dad?" asked the white foal as she stepped closer to me. She pointed her hooves at my opened pendant. "I don't know, but I assume that they are. Do you think they'll come and rescue you?" "I believe they cared for me, but I don't think they will come. Judging from my bruises, I think I was forcefully separated from them. There's no hope for us, is there? Hope is the one thing we have on our side. Look." I closed the pendant and showed it to her. "This necklace has been through wear and tear, yet it still clings on to me. I too will hold on and break free, no matter the odds. I won't let my life go to waste, and this pendant shall serve as a reminder of that. But there's no way out of here. There's always a way. I'll find it." "What about the rest of us?" I heard several hoof steps echoing in the distance. "Don't you worry, Philly. I'll make sure that nothing bad happens to you, I promise." She looked up to me with her big eyes as I drew my head closer to hers. My gaze captivated her and she stopped shaking. I bowed my head and let the golden chain slide up my neck and over my head. Swooping it off with my hoof, I held it in front of me and read a part of my engraved name that was still legible. I, Raven Blood Flame Blaze Shadow Fire Heart Nightshade. Looking over to the group of innocents at the wall, I raised my head. "We'll save you all." Wrapping the necklace around Philly's neck, I reassuringly smiled at her. "Here, I want you to hold on to my pendant for a little while. Note that it's very precious to me, because it's the only thing I have from my past. You can be damn sure I'll return for it." I winked at her. She gasped. I nodded and smiled at her, then turned around, facing the barred door. "Are you going somewhere?" asked the filly. The sound of hoof steps rustled my feathers. They were drawing near. I spotted 2 guards coming from around the cave's turn. Unicorn ponies, both wearing black metal armor, approached toward the cell. Rotating my ears forward, I could hear another set of hoofsteps coming from behind them. I figured there were 3 ponies altogether. If I was going to solve this, I had to get out of the cell first. I hoped to use them as my ticket out, then poke out some information out of them that I could use to my advantage. From behind me, I heard the little filly run to the other foals at the wall. Besides saving myself, I wanted to help out the fellow inmates, too. They surely didn't deserve any of this. First things first, though. Any volunteers? Jested one guard. They both laughed. Just me. I leaned my forehooves on the barred door. The laughter stopped. The guards stepped aside as an unarmored white mare moved between them to the bars. She too was a unicorn, but she was very different from them. Her coat wasn't sparkling at all. She must have come down with some really bad disease to lose all the sparkling. She wasn't acting like she was sick, though. You're actually volunteering? She asked. Yeah, this cell is boring. I want some action. She magically floated a key into the lock on the bar doors. Well, I hope we can provide some for you. The guards laughed again. I knew I would need to gain their trust if I wanted to gather more information on them, and find a way to outsmart them. The only way to do that was to become more than just another victim in their eyes. I took a step back from the bars. The lock clicked and the door opened. I jumped through the opening, and slid among their legs. Looking back at them, I saw that their horns were glowing. Having had seen them drag foals with air magic without any strain, I knew I couldn't run away from them. They would just levitate me up, then haul me the rest of the way down the corridor. I stopped in my tracks, and jumped repeatedly on the spot. Finally, some room to stretch my legs. The glow on their horns dissipated. Approaching the sick mare, who seemed to be in charge, I asked, So, which way to the action room? The guards raised their eyebrows as they looked at each other. The mare leaned down to me. You do know we're going to kill you, little foal, don't you? Not if I have any say in it. I grinned at her. I've never died before. The guard face toothed. I started walking backwards to the direction screams had been coming from when I had been stuck in the cell. Don't keep me waiting, guys. The mare sighed. You'll have to excuse us, little colt. We've been up for 20 hours straight. We're in need of some extra members, but we just don't have time to go through official recruiting procedure. They started to move toward me along the dark corridor. The mare took point. You may think we're having fun, but this has been quite strenuous on all of us. Even monsters need rest, you know. I don't think you're a monster. I picked up my pace to match the mare's. What's your name? She glanced at me, then faced forward. Killjoy. Hey, Killjoy. I poked the side of her chest with my hoof. Wanna raise me to the slaughter room? I stomped my hooves on the ground. She charged her horn. As she waved her head, I smashed with my back against the wall. Facing me, she raised her head and levitated me up toward the ceiling. Did Anakami ever tell you how annoying you are? She asked, lowering her eyebrows. I leaned my forehooves behind my back, against the wall, and pushed myself forward. I positioned my head snout to snout with hers. You're the one who knocked on my barred door. Now face the consequence that is me. I grinned at her. Doug. She dropped me on the ground, and started walking down the corridor again. I jumped on my hooves and skipped sideways by her. So, how are you gonna do me? She stopped and faced me. Look. We don't enjoy doing this as much as you seem to. We only joke around from time to time to keep us sane. We'd all have snapped some time ago if we didn't have some outlet. We're in a very difficult position. If we could bring back our king without any bloodshed we would, but we ran out of options. Our empire is about to be invaded. Celestia of Equestria has sent her goons to gain control of our capital. Only our king can save us now, but he's dead. Celestia killed him 1,000 years ago. If we don't bring him back, she'll probably banish all of the crystal ponies to the moon. Her eyes started to tear up. I won't let that happen. I've served you crystal ponies all my life, and I'll protect you by any means necessary, even if it means sacrificing a few of you to save the empire. I stood up on my hind legs and put my hoof on her shoulder. I thought you had a good reason for doing this, but I had no idea it was this important. I wish there was something more I could do for you all. I looked at her and raised my eyebrows. I wish we had more ponies with your kind of spirit. She bowed her head. They're all full of words when it comes to protecting our kingdom, but when we try to test their determination, they curl their tails or even directly oppose us. It's really hard to get new members for the cause. She left a conversational opening for me and I took it. Ponies die of senseless deaths every day, but my death will be meaningful. I am proud to serve the cause and am willing to give my life for it. You really are something, aren't you? She looked up to me. Tell me, what needs to be done? I retracted my hoof from her shoulder and stood on all four legs again. The whole kingdom is in disarray. Most ponies lost their memories, and are in no condition to protect our kingdom, especially since the king isn't around to motivate them. I turned and trotted forward. She followed me. Ours is an elite group. Only the bravest of unicorns capable of leading can become a part of the king's guard. I slowed down and raised my foreleg. So, only ponies that have a horn, like the one I seem to have. I put my hooves on a bony surface. Right, she uttered. Putting my foreleg down, I quickened my pace, marching us forward. It must feel weird, not being able to recall anything from your past, she said. The wards in this lair protected us from losing our memories. It's funny that I know more about you than you do. I stopped in my tracks. You know me? You are more special than you think. Ponies tried to keep your existence a secret from us, but nothing could stay hidden from King Sombra. After all, he had well-established methods to help ponies come in touch with their inner honesty. Why would anyone want to hide me? I slowed down, and walked alongside Killjoy. King Sombra was reasonable and practical. He tried to establish a kingdom where every pony could be involved. However, some ponies didn't want to be a part of something bigger than them. They were lazy and wanted to save their own desires, disregarding the greater good. We tried to motivate them the best we could, but their laziness spread like a disease. Rebel groups formed almost faster than we could annihilate them. Things suddenly turned for the better, and ponies didn't complain so much anymore. It took us a while before we found out the cause behind their raised obedience. You were the reason for it. What did I do? I asked. Nothing. You were just born. The rebel group bred you in secrecy for one purpose, only to assassinate King Sombra, and bring chaos into the kingdom of order. It wasn't just us motivating every pony anymore. They were encouraged by the last rebel group to stay compliant, and to draw as little attention as possible. The rest of the terrorist cells were disbanded. Most importantly, however, was the false hope that you sparked in the hearts of every pony. Their minds focused more on making up new inspirational names for you than finding ways of abandoning the orderly community. They patiently endured as they waited for their savior-bearer of laziness and selfish content. I had the potential to do that. Well, no. We were on top of it throughout your childhood. The only reason we let you live was the motivation that you inspired in the servant ponies. We had the most productive day when rumors spread through the pony population that you had cast your first spell. Ponies hoped for the future laziness freedom, they called it, kept them inspired, despite their daily struggles. Why did you capture me then? Most of our units were outside when the memory erasing spell hit. There just aren't enough of us left to keep the order in Crystal Empire and fight off the invading force from Equestria at the same time. With our numbers cut thin, there was a possibility that we would lose track of you, so we brought you here for safekeeping. None of it matters now, though. The king is the only one that can protect us at this point. Without him, the low-average productivity of the pony population is the least of our concerns. Luckily, we have the means to bring him back. The sacrifices. Yes, they are like beacons in the netherworld. They draw attention of the spirits. However, the mere glimmer in the void is not enough for our plan to come to fruition. We need to transfer enough souls in succession to create the rift in the very fabric that separates the worlds. I turned to her. Then our king can return and protect us. That's right. I'm glad to hear you support our cause. She nodded to the big open door on the side of the corridor. The two guards, accompanying us, stopped. They positioned themselves at the sides of the door, in the corridor. Killjoy and I entered the hall alone. There were more than 100 torches mounted on the walls. Metal bars covered the floor in the middle of the room. The rectangular stone table rested on top of them with bloodstain restraints leading from the corners. In the back of the room lay a big pile of bodies. I cringed at the sight, but I couldn't let it get to me. I had to refrain from showing any weakness. I know this all looks scary to you, but it's just what it takes, Killjoy said. We really hate sacrificing foes, but their youth makes their souls more potent. I forced my muscles to relax. I had to sink to their level if I was going to beat them at their own game. I understand. The corners of her mouth turned up. "You've really impressed me, brave pony, and that's no easy feat. This is bigger than all of us. We need to work together for the good of the cause." I nodded at her. "I agree with you completely. Here, let me introduce you to some pony." We walked on the floor of metal bars. I saw a pool of blood through the slits. "I wish we had more members like you." Putting her hoof on my shoulder, she looked at the pony by the stone table. He was dressed in crude brown robes stained with blood. Leaning his head sideways, he glanced at me. "Deathstroke, meet the new blood that will help us in our crusade," said Killjoy. He looked at her and she nodded at him. Killjoy turned to me. "Deathstroke is a very good friend of mine. He sacrificed more for the cause than anybody else. Literally. Take a seat, young one." He pointed to the stone table. The blood on the stone was already hardened, so it wasn't too gross when I climbed up. Killjoy waved her hoof at Deathstroke and took a few steps toward the back of the room. He followed her. She waved her head in my direction, then whispered something in his ear. "Really? Well, that's a pleasant surprise." He smiled. "I trust your judgment completely." He looked at me. "I'll do as you ask of me, Killjoy." She smiled at me, then walked to the exit. "I'll see you soon." Deathstroke trotted toward me. I waved my hind legs alternately back and forth off the edge of the table. What was it about? It was a private conversation. "Oh, come on, what did she say?" "Fine, I'll tell you. I guess there's no point in keeping secrets between us anymore. We're all honest ponies here if nothing else. After the initiation tests, we learn to trust each other with our lives. Being honest comes as second nature when you know that the Dark family has accepted you." Right there. That was an indication of future interaction with me. Samepani might have missed this sign, but not me. He has betrayed himself. At that moment, there was no fear in me. I knew exactly how this situation would play out. I grinned. My sense of perception and determination was what differentiated me from the other ponies. It made me the winner. "Are you sure you aren't scared, little foal?" He grabbed the knife from the edge of the table in his teeth and raised his eyebrows as he looked at me. "I'm not scared. Nothing can scare me." I put my forelegs behind me and leaned back on them. My lips drew into a smile as I observed his attempts to scare me. The obvious charade initiation to their ranks was amusing me. He swung his head. The knife pierced my chest. My jaw dropped, but no sounds came out of my mouth. Letting go of the knife embedded in me, he stood up on his hind legs. I leaned forward, grabbing the knife with my forehooves. It was in me all the way to the handle. I opened my eyelids wide and stared at Deathstroke. Leaning on the sacrificial table with one forehoof, he drew closer and caressed my head with the other hoof. Looking into my eyes, he spoke softly. "Killjoy invited me to have lunch with her after you die. I think she likes me." I bowed my head. My vision blurred. As my forelegs slid from the knife, a tear fell from my eyes onto my hind leg and drifted across my flank. The coat color on my plot started to change. A shape formed where the tear had fallen. It was an image of a black-coated head with red horn. The pool of blood beneath us started to boil. Deathstroke turned toward the exit and yelled, "Hey, Killjoy, I think we had a winner." The black cloud was seeping out from the blood. The edge of the smoke morphed into a head. My newly formed QB mark matched the face exactly. My vision was narrowing. I wasn't just afraid anymore. I was terrified.